Welcome to the Key to Growth podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you are in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success starting now.
So welcome back to the Key to Growth podcast. I'm actually so excited to have Cassie and Kailee here from Quality because I've been on Cassie's podcast a few times. So I feel like we're turning the tables here. And so let's get started. I want you guys to introduce yourselves first and just then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, my name is Cassie Pound. I am Vice President of Quality Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I am the host of Power Women of the Trades, podcast for women in the trades.
I'm Kaylee McCrary. I am the Director of Marketing for the same company, Quality Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric in Tulsa.
I love that I have Cassie and Kailee here right now because I think that you guys have a really dynamic relationship, which has led to a lot of the success that you guys have had in marketing. So let's kind of get into it. And okay, so Cassie, before Kailee, what did you do? Were you in charge of marketing at that point?
Yeah, I've always taken like marketing as my baby, because I'm really passionate about it. And there's so many moving pieces of a business owner, and you kind of have to pick the couple that you're going to be really good at. And then, so marketing was just one of those things that I really, from the beginning, I've always been working on my personal brand, and I just really felt like I understood it. So before Kailee, it was me. And that didn't mean that it was it was just me. And I was always trying to grab on to new ideas, changing things, adapting, growing, and just, I think one of the biggest things with me is I'm not afraid to try something. Yeah. And so it was just me before and some partners.
I think that one thing that I see a lot is that when the owner or one of the owners is the spearhead of marketing, there can be a lot of bottlenecks. So, and some people don't know when that right time is or when it is time to invest in someone like Kailee to help them. So what would be your advice in that? And how did you know that it was time to get Kailee on board to help you execute everything?
Well, I am a big believer in mentors. And so one of my mentors, I had been talking to him about the next step. I was kind of putting everything out there. I was trying to do everything, all the different levers, right? And what was the next step? And one thing that I didn't love is we have some great partners, vendors, however we want to call them. But I never felt like you're one of our partners, right? But you rely on the content that we're going to give you. And because I don't want you to share content or make content that doesn't align with our business. And so I was like really trying to brainstorm with this mentor of how do I keep doing what I need to do every day, but show the world through socials, our website and everything, who Quality is. And he was like, I always forget to. Kailee, what was your original job title?
Social media and community coordinator.
Yeah. So he was like, you need a social media and community coordinator. And one thing that I say too is like, if you're listening to this, number one, when we were ready for that position, we were closer to $10 million. Like that position could be a position that you take on at less revenue, but it does come with the cost. So, there's been a few people who are like, how did you afford that? Well, it was a strategy kind of. Matt, my mentor, literally said that. And I was like, okay. And I posted the position and I didn't really have it in the budget, but I understood what he was saying. I needed someone that could just her sole focus was take videos, take pictures, get content, show who we are, but also be more forward thinking than I was. You kind of get bottlenecked with the owner because it's not that we mean to, but things kind of stall out because you're also working on financials and leadership training and technician training and all the things. And so you would have these really great ideas and then they would just get stuck there because you had all these other things on your plate. And so that was the birth of Kailee's position.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so Kailee, what was some of the first things, like social media, obviously, but what did you, besides social media, once you started getting comfortable, what did you see as things that you could really start doing that could help move the needle in marketing?
Yeah, so I actually said my original title was social media and community coordinator. So not only was it the social media, but it was also the community events that we were doing. And that was such easy content to get because you're already at the events and things like that. So you're able to connect it. And then I also was able to work with the other vendors that we had to make sure our marketing strategy was consistent across all of the different avenues that we were doing. So that was a huge help in that aspect.
Yes,
we were just really searching for a cohesive brand. We want to be cohesive no matter where you see us. It's the same. but it takes a lot of strategy. It's definitely not something, I think sometimes the biggest misconceptions with marketing is, oh, I saw this company did this way and I'm going to like copy and paste that. And it's really just not that easy. There has to be so much more thought process behind it than that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking to what Kailee just said about the content was the things that you're doing. So it's not like you can take the same pictures with the same people at the same events unless you're actually going to them. And I think in general, the overall, all of it together is what helps move it along. So how do you choose or how did you get involved in the community? I think that's a big one that a lot of trades companies try to not do, like, or feel, because it's a lot of work to not only find them, but then set up and go and spend your Saturday or your whole day there. So how did you choose where to get involved in the community? And then how did you go about actually getting to like doing these events and what all went into it?
Well, so that goes back to like the beginning days of the company, and when we didn't have a marketing budget and we didn't have really any money for anything. What we could do was we could show up and we could use our hands. And that's one of the core values of quality, is serve people. And so our goal has always been to serve people. Then that means serving our community, serving our employees. And so that was easy. That was free. Maybe it was a small admission fee. And the thing is you can't just show up to one thing. You know, our local communities, it's not even just community anymore. Like we live in a suburb of Tulsa, but our local suburbs and Tulsa know that if someone needs something, they can come to Quality. And so that has taken, and that's 10 years in the making. That's us showing up at every event. That's showing up at the things that we didn't want to on the weekends. That's showing up and giving out candy to the little kids or showing up at the teachers. And so it is a lot of work. It's taken us, like I said, 10 years. It's not something that you could just do one or two events, a year and just be like, we support our community. You've got to get really deep in there to where they know. I mean, we used to get, just thinking about donations, for example, when Kailee first started here, how much we've grown since then as well, too. But even when Kailee first started, we would maybe get 1 or 2 requests a month for a donation. Now we typically are like 10 to 20 a month, and she'll be coming to me and like, she has her budget. She's like, how do I prioritize now? But it's because we've made such a name for ourselves. We'll do for our community and how we give back. But like I said, that's a lot of getting your hands in there and doing the work.
Yeah. And I think how we went about staying on it and being a part of all these events year after year is you make that relationship with your community to where they reach out to you and you're like, hey, are you able to be a part of this year? And we're like, of course, we'd love to be a part of it. And so once you have that relationship, it's really easy to be able to keep on doing it and stay in the loop. And as social media has grown, it's easy to see like the chamber posts, oh, we have a Black Gold Christmas parade this year. Who's going to come and attend? So it's really easy to see what all is going on in your community.
And then, like I said, that's grown to other suburbs because the other suburb, we have one suburb that was like, we really wish you were in our city. And I was like, we are, like, we service your area. And so now we do a lot of things in that area too. And so it's just like really, it comes down to your character as a human being, right? You are who you say you are. And your character is seen in your company. Like your company has character also. And you need to create that and then be who you say you are.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about, you guys won an award last year. Was that last year, 2023, that you guys won an award for one of your marketing initiatives? And it was really unique, which is why you won the award. But I know it's been passed and you guys have new things, but I do think it was really cool. And I think you guys are still doing some unique things. So I would like to talk about that. And then also some of the most recent things that you guys have started doing.
Did you see our faces when you started talking? I was like, which one? Okay.
Okay. I'm thinking about the billboard one.
Yes, the billboard. You go ahead.
So, well, it was your idea. So I feel like you should get to share it because this was before I even started. So
to celebrate you.
Yes.
Okay. So this is funny though. And I think this story, it's funny how whenever something happens and then it becomes more than you anticipated, but then you don't always give credit to the process. And so I remember approaching some people with this idea that I had for this billboard campaign called We Celebrate You. And several people were like, that's silly. What's the point? I had several industry who I love them dearly, but I have several industry leaders who in the beginning was immediately like, I don't think so. I'm not sure. And if I wasn't who I am, I would have just been like, oh, well, you're smarter, And I was like, nah, I'm doing it, And so we started this campaign called We Celebrate You, where we had an email address and you could email in, say, hey, I'm celebrating my birthday, my anniversary or whatever, and include a picture. And then on our digital billboards, we would include that picture and say, say, "Happy anniversary, Kailee," and said, "We celebrate you" across it. And so what that did was the billboards were in safe locations. Everyone wants to be on a billboard, and the majority of people in life are never going to be on a billboard, right? Like, who actually really like that is regularly going to be on a billboard? And so they're like, "I'm on this billboard." So then they would go and stand in front of the billboard and take their picture and then post that online. So then there was a lot of organic growth from there. And so it was so popular. It's one of those things that you can really just do. Like, we've taken a small break for it. It's coming back, because if you don't take a break with it, it kind of gets lost in the sauce. And so then we want to bring it back and it be big again. But yeah, that was huge. And it's been replicated several times. We always say we don't mind other people using it. Give us credit if you can, but definitely you can't use it in Oklahoma. It is ours. But, it was just outside the box thinking that wasn't traditional. The billboards, we're used to seeing everyone, think about the billboards in your area, and it's for the heat and air, plumbing and electric companies. It's probably just like a couple dudes on a billboard, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to just show up differently. And how can you do that and set yourself apart? But what was the award?
Yeah, I think too.
ACA.
Oh, yeah. I always forget. I'm so sorry. That sounds very, not very humble. I'm sorry. It's funny though, but because I think about it in the past like that of, man, like several people told me that wasn't going to work,
And now it's in a book.
Yeah.
Now it's in a book. Kick Charge, Dan Antonelli put it in his book.
Right.
And he wasn't a hater.
Yeah, I was reading that book. That's what really made me think of it too.
Yeah, he was one of the originals that was like, "I'm not sure I get your plan here." And I was like, "Well, you don't have to get it, just help me do the design." But he was really receptive, and he listened and was like, "Okay, well, I mean, what do we have to lose? Let's try it." He helped us design that billboard. And then we just, between Kailee and the billboard company, just changed the picture out, and they changed weekly. So you were on the billboard for a week, and people all the time were like, "How can I get on your billboard?" And so it was a lot of
I even was on the billboard after I first started, and I felt so special to get to be up on a billboard.
Yeah.
Pretty sure my parents were like, "Let's go take a picture."
Yeah, it's cool.
Yes, such a great viral social media strategy to get people to post about you without telling them to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, so as you guys have grown now, there are still a lot of the same things that you do. I mean, you're still doing all of the community events, doing the home shows, taking care of the teachers and the teams in your community. You guys are obviously, well, maybe not obviously, because not everybody does this, but you've invested in your Google side of your company. You've invested in your social media, in social media ads. I want to know about your radio that you're doing right now and how that's going and how you were inspired by your dogs, or maybe you weren't.
So I think we're going to have two different perspectives of this. So I am kind of a gambler. I'm not necessarily, actually, Kaylee's more of an actual gambler than I am. She's one at the casino. If you ever need, anyway, so I say I have a gambler's heart, right? And I'm willing to try things. And so we started working with Wizard of Ads. I had just heard through the grapevine that if you ever went to radio and TV, that was the partner you needed to talk to. And so I was like, okay. And it was February of last year or this year. And it was not in the budget also. And Kailee, I'm talking to them, and they're like, one of the things that they do a great job, they're really disruptive. The radio ads are really disruptive, which that's Dan Antonelli's word, disruptive. But I'm telling you, so that's what they do. And so they were just talking to us about all the opportunity, the options. And so we're like, okay. And so we trusted the process. I didn't even know what the radio ads were going to be like at first when we hired them. We never necessarily were we want a talking bulldog on the radio.
Yeah, that wasn't a part of any of the first sessions at all.
Yeah, we were just let's see. And so they came to an on-site. They really just watched who we were, and they just observed us. And so that was cool. And so now we have we have English bulldogs that are our shop dogs, and they're here every day. And our techs love them. Our customers love them. They go to the home shows with us. They're really invested. Our community knows them, these dogs. And so they expect them to be at everything. And so I think that was just the easy thing to kind of play on. And so again, think about the radio in your market. What do you hear when you're talking about electric or home services, right? Mm-hmm. It's a couple dudes on the radio, and ours is not. I mean, ours is a really more corporate feel, maybe it's very high production. We're not just going into a studio. I mean, it's high production, and there comes with some cost, but we're already seeing a return on that. Our customers sing our jingle back to us. They're happy about big and Biggins the bulldog. And so it's just, I think that the radio
Poor
piece,
Pookie probably has a different name. People don't know Pookie's name. They named him Biggins.
yeah, Biggins. And actually Biggins, his name is Biggins, but Biggins, who he like is the other dog in the office, but his actual name is Tank, but Biggins is his stage name is what we say. But because one of those things with that, I was like, why can't it be Tank? And they're like, Tank unfortunately might pass away one day and Biggins lives forever. And I was like, okay, fair. So,
oh my gosh.
I mean, you have to think about those things, right? And then, so that's a stage name for now, but he is created in Tank's likeness. But it really just is back to the cohesiveness. It like brings us all together. And like I said, it was just outside of the box thinking. I think that's like should be kind of like our qualities marketing tagline for like our theme. Because we get asked all the time, like, how do you come up with these ideas? What are you doing? And it's literally just out of the box thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It just, what can we try?
And making sure that that outside of the box thinking is correlated across all of the different marketing efforts to where people are recognizing it and seeing it multiple places, because we always talk about how it takes multiple touch points to get to a customer to pick up the phone and call you. So you want to make sure that's cohesive with all your different brands.
Yeah. And the dog work, because you have the dog at the home shows, you have the dog on the radio, you have the dog in your social media, you have the dog in your ads. So people just start to see it all in different places.
It's so crazy too, because, you know, with radio, they say it takes about 6 months for you to start seeing a return. And I would say that we maybe even were a little bit sooner than 6 months when we started seeing a return, because we did such a good job across the board. Like Kailee, the day that she started with quality, I said, listen, I'm very ADHD. I am quick moving and I will give you a thought and then I have to move on normally, because that's just how my brain works. Here's the branding guide. Here is my expectation. If you've ever rebranded with Kick Charge, they give you a branding guide. That's the font, the colors, the Pantone colors, everything. Like, you can't really screw up as long as you stay within these guidelines. Come to me if you have questions, you know. And I just set her out and was like, I didn't put like walls around her. I didn't say, you can't do this. She had all the technicians and office staff dancing on TikToks like within the first week, you know? And so we just sell. And so we were able to, I just feel like we are constantly adapting and growing and outside of the box thinking. I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Where I was to see the ADHD.
Okay. So question. You what?
I said, you do need someone that's not ADHD. Like, she has got to keep me straight.
Implementer.
And people all the time will say, email me and say something about Kaylee's assistant. I'm like, let me clarify or Cassie's assistant. Like, let me clarify real quick. Kailee is the show. Like, she runs this gig. Okay. Like, she comes to me. I give her some approvals from time to time if she's got something big, but she runs it. She did a presentation where she called me the visionary. I always say I'm a visionary, but I'm always going to implement. But I don't know that always gives her enough credit for her visionary too, because she will implement whatever I can come up with. But she knows, like, I think you have to know your boundaries, right? And I know for a fact, and our entire team knows this, I can come up with these great ideas, but I am never going to like put it into motion because I will get distracted by something, a shiny object. But if someone can take the information while I have it coming out, right, and then build on it or make it better or kind of dig from the pieces, we've done some really cool things from doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So question. I'm curious of what both of y'all's answers are, but I would love to know, Kailee, what you are the most proud of that you have implemented in the marketing, or is there something that you could really pinpoint as being like your favorite project that you've worked on?
Okay, so there's two different answers for both of those. So my favorite thing that I have worked on is just social media and being able to work with the technicians and be able to hang out with them. And whether it be a Tip Tuesday video or if it's a dancing TikTok or it's our employee spotlight, getting to know them a little bit better and just showing the culture of quality. That's my favorite part of my job, is just showing the brand and the culture behind quality. And the favorite thing that I've implemented would probably be our review cards that we do, where each technician on the front has our contact information that they leave with the customer, and on the back is the QR code for them to scan and leave us a review right there. And we've seen a numerous amount of reviews come in from that. So
like over 700.
Yeah.
She's not going to brag about herself.
No. Yeah. So that's the favorite thing that I've implemented as far as a marketing.
I love that. And I think that your personality helps the social media, because if there's somebody who's in charge of like getting these pictures and videos and the techs don't trust them or like don't feel like there's a good relationship there, the content isn't going to be as good. And so the fact that they can see how much you care and what your goals are behind this, it's very obvious the culture that you guys have based on your social media. media. Like it would look a lot different if that trust and that culture wasn't there. So I think there's a lot to be said about that and how you guys are able to execute that.
Yeah.
Cassie, do you have a different answer of what you think that you're most proud of Kailee for implementing, or your favorite thing that she was able to move forward with?
Well, I was thinking about a different answer. So my favorite thing that I've implemented, I think, is Kailee. So
Yeah.
Kailee helped us reinvent quality, and she pulls it out of everybody. And so I think that's the double answer, right? Like I'm thankful that I was able to find, because I think all the time, well, first of all, you wouldn't even believe the amount of people that try to recruit this girl, and it cracks us up. But because it was just a matter of the right person for the right job at the right time. It was really, I think, God's plan, how I found Kailee. The other day I was telling her, I was like, how many people I interviewed for her position, like, you've been here almost 3 years, right? And we'd never really have talked about that, And I interviewed quite a few people. I told her one day, I was like, this one guy texted me a previous and was like, can I bring you a Starbucks? She was like, for the record, I was on Zoom for my interview. I was like, I know I didn't really want a Starbucks. It was kind of like a red flag for me. But I don't know if I could have hired somebody else and they done the job that I expected as well as she has, because she is just, first of all the time I tell her, like, you are girl wise beyond your years. She's 24.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you're running a double-digit $1 million company. It's marketing. Like, it's just, she has so many things to be proud of, and she makes good decisions. She's like, hey, she comes to me and says, hey, we've spent this much money. I think we should pull the ad. Okay. Hey, we've done this. I think we should increase it. Hey, we're doing this. Let's pull. I'm actually cutting these 3 vendors. That was a conversation, and I'm not having to facilitate that. She does that. And so the leadership, the personal growth, the things that I've seen come out of her in these almost 3 years are just like, I'm so proud of her for that. And then just her constant desire to grow quality. It's not her desire to grow quality, and her passion is not, I think a lot of people sometimes get caught up with growing the business for the owners. It's not that at all. We're growing this business for our team, and she really truly believes that. And so she's always looking at those opportunities, how to increase call counts. Nobody tracks call counts and what we do with the call. I can't tell you another business in this market or in this industry that tracks inbound calls and what we do with the calls better than her. I've never seen anything like it, and so she's just really passionate about that. And so I think that's a really big answer of all the things that she does.
Yeah, I love that.
She doesn't take compliments. She takes them. She just is always like, okay.
It's going to make me tear up over here, just sitting here.
I love that. Okay, so there's actually like one more marketing thing that you guys did, which I think is really cool. And I'm curious about, I think it's still pretty new, but when you started the podcast for Tulsa business owners, I think that is something that a lot of trades owners can look at as a great way of engaging other business owners and borrowing their audience and borrowing their warm network. I know you did about 1 season of it, but tell me a little bit about that and what your goals were and then how it worked out.
So season 2 is coming with, there's a couple things with the podcast. You have to determine if it's like an ongoing thing or a seasonal thing. In our industries, it's better to be seasonal. So we kicked off in the spring and we did some episodes, and then season 2's in the works right now. But, that was just another one of those things. I'll be honest with you. I was drunk in a pool in Mexico, my best brainstormer. And I was like, let's start I was talking to Oscar and I was like, let's start a podcast it's called Tulsa Talks Business. And from there, it became a much later conversation, a different conversation, a sober conversation, people. But I came to Kailee and was like, hey, so we're going to start a podcast, and it's Tulsa Talks Business. It's powered by Quality Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric. We're going to interview other business owners in Tulsa, talk about, what they're doing. They have a code for discounts here, vice versa. And it's just like engagement. And so it links to our website. So there's some SEO focus there. And so it's really, and that's another one of those things that just kind of evolved. Now we have like a wait list for people who want to be on it. Like, so we're recording again right now to get ahead. And there's still like a list that we're not even able to probably get to all of the season. But people really, especially if they're new into their business, not sure how to grow, they want to, pick our brain, but also realize that we're kind of leveraging both sides, and so it's a way for those small business owners to get some exposure from us and our marketing and our exposure that we have, and then vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool one that you guys are doing. So it all comes down to, what is the key to quality's marketing? Is there just one thing?
Well, I think Cassie kind of hit it on the head earlier whenever she said out of the box thinking and not being afraid to try things. Like, that's one thing I'm really thankful for, because I know some people may be kind of scared to try new things. Like, I, for example, was scared to start radio, and Cassie was like, no, we're doing it. We're going. And I'm so thankful we did, because we're seeing such a return on it already. Like, obviously we can't see this person called from our radio ad, but just people talking about it and going to home shows, and Biggins wasn't there and someone said, why isn't Biggins here? Or, I can't wait to hear the next radio spot. I love them. Like, it's so cool to see just what can happen by taking a chance on something.
Mm-hmm. It's the outside of the box thinking. Don't be afraid to change things in the moment. I mean, I have been at a conference and someone gave me advice and I called the team and changed it in the moment. You don't always have to have, and maybe someone's going to disagree with me and say that this isn't sound advice, but we don't always have a plan. We have an idea of a plan and we formulate the plan in the moment, but we start with the strategy immediately. Because anything that social media has taught us is that by the time you start something, it can already be done with. Like, trends are so quickly. TikTok is a good example. Trends on TikTok come and go very quickly, right? And so if you wanted to jump on one of those trends and you had to take 2 weeks to formulate a plan on how to do it, that ship has sailed. But that's actually the truth in all levels of marketing. Social media, print, everything is the same. Maybe print's a little more, it is more long lasting, but everything's the same. Trends come and go, and you have to be able to move and adapt quickly and sometimes formulate the plan in the moment, or at least have the right team on hand to be able to do that. Kailee,
definitely.
Kailee, I think in the beginning I was like, I'm crazy. Jen, you probably have perspective of that too. Whenever I'm like, hey, or Kailee comes at you, I know specifically like with our targeted city campaigns that we were working on at first, you were like, well, what about this? And what about that? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's just try it. Let's just test it. And I'm just not scared to do that. Some people, especially when we're talking about dollars spent, I get it. But if you track it well enough, you can make a good decision soon enough to either make sure you get a return or at least stop it.
And be willing to pivot too, to where you can go to a different route if you need to.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a great conversation. Another thing that could add to it, which I don't think that we even have time for in this conversation, but luckily Cassie and I already had the conversation, is about personal branding. So if you want to hear more about how Cassie has been able to utilize her personal brand to help with the quality brand and how that all fits in, there's an episode of Power Women of the Trades podcast that you can go and listen to that was released in October or November. So depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what episode number it is.
I can't remember either, but that's a really good episode, Jen, that you talk about the personal brand, and they all tie together. And so I think that if you really just open your brain to what you're willing to share, what you want to do, and then be willing to change on a regular basis, that's a quality core value. Be willing to change or be willing to grow. And to grow, you have to be willing to change. So
yeah, cool. Absolutely. So before we go, why don't you guys tell us where we can learn more about quality and more about you guys?
Yeah, so Quality is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and it's Quality Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing and Electric on Facebook, but then Quality HCPE on TikTok and Instagram. Cassie has her podcast, Power Women of the Trades. We're both on LinkedIn, so you can find us there.
QualityPromise.com is our website. You basically can just find us anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Hit us up. We get people messaging just our regular contact form on QualityPromise.com. And we're always willing to share what we're doing. And sometimes, like I said, we might share it and then have already changed it before you get off the phone. Maybe not that quick, and there's power in networking and communicating with other people. There have been so many people that have gotten ideas from us, I'm sure, but I've talked to people that think they're giving nothing back to me and I'm taking notes and I'm like, oh no, that was a really good idea, And so don't be afraid to share just because maybe you're in the beginning stages of marketing. You're probably doing more than you think, and write it all out, make a plan, talk about it and share it and let others help you kind of formulate from there too.
Yeah. There's a lot of Facebook groups where people get a lot of insight, some of it good and some of it maybe not as good, but I see Dan on there constantly giving people amazing free advice about their branding and logos that they're investing in. And there's just there's a lot of people who are willing to do that. So there's a lot of network out there that can help move you forward. And then resources like this and like a lot of other podcasts that are out there that can help you if you're just trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all so much for joining me. I love this conversation. Always love talking to you guys.
Yes. Thank you.
And we will be back soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.